Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Liverpool Connection Podcast. This is a story podcast. It's kind of a brand new series I've been doing. I had Barry Ashworth, I've had Flinty, Badman from the Ragga Twins, and it's basically doing football and music and talking about Liverpool and their musical careers. And really chuffed to have my next guest. Massive fan of his, as everyone knows. I've DJ and do some studio stuff as well, but it's always great to bring people on that I admire. He's got music out on Finger Licking, Against the Grain, you name it, he's been there. He's got so many accolades, smashed it all over the place. Martin Reeves, aka Krafty Kuts.
Hey mate, thanks for that. It was a lovely introduction. What a lovely introduction. And
I mean all that, by the way. I mean all that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, well, it's one of the great jobs. It's like, you know, being a footballer or a racing driver. You get to do something that's a lot of fun, and you get to meet the public. You get to share in their experiences and their joy and their pain sometimes. When the festivals are really muddy and everyone's like traipsing around and getting soaking wet, but still trying to have a good time. And yeah, you know, absolutely mad, passionate Liverpool fan. Literally, I'm always on Talk Sport or BBC 5 Live listening to the phone-ins and follow tons of people on Twitter and Instagram who are involved in Liverpool and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm quite lucky to be followed by some very influential, footballers and other stuff. So yeah, I'm just mad. I watch football all the time and a massive Liverpool fan since I was a kid.
So where did this Liverpool journey start for you?
It's a really funny one because it's not what you'd think. It wouldn't be like your dad introduced you to the team, because my dad, rest in peace, he was a Chelsea fan, and we used to live in London, and I used to actually go to watch the Chelsea games when I was a kid, and I used to live in Kingston upon Thames. And I don't know, I just wasn't into. I liked Chelsea and I liked, you know, the teams, but it was when I watched the 1974 FA Cup final. I saw Kevin Keegan, and I must have been about 4, and that was it. Then I was just like, I love football, and I just played football. I played football at a good age. I still play football now, believe it or not. And so I've been through the good and the bad and the ugly, and to where we are now. And we've got a fantastic manager. And I just hope that, that we can acquire a few new players just to get the balance right within the team to take us back to where we want to be. Because I think every Liverpool fan will tell you that if we made a couple of key signings, we could really challenge Man City, but we're just slightly behind because we don't have that strength and depth to test them all the way.
So who was your favourite player back then? Was it Keegan?
Yeah, Kevin Keegan was, him and Toshak and Keegan, when the commentators go, Toshak, Keegan, 1-0. I was like, my hair's thinking about it now. It was amazing, and I was just so passionate. And then Kenny Dalglish came in when Keegan left, and I was like, how is he going to replace Keegan? And he was even better. He was like an upgrade. It was unbelievable. And then Barnes and McDermott. I mean, for me, the best game of all time that I've ever seen was Liverpool 7 Spurs. I've never seen, apart from the Barcelona game, I've never seen a team play so well. I mean, that goal when McDermott crossed it and what's his name headed it in, it was just unbelievable. It was like, it was Highway crossed it and it went from one end to the other in 3 passes and it was in the back of the net. And I just think that's how football should be played. It was just beautiful to watch. So that was when I was like literally smitten with football, and I started learning to play. I played football, still, like I said, play football. I run a football team, a little 6-a-side team on Monday nights, and we just won the league on Monday night. So we're in the Premiership with some, we're playing county and some of them are semi-pro players. So it's amazing that I'm still playing at that sort of level. And I've set it up with my twin boys, which is brilliant. So I get to play with my kids. And yeah, I watch every single game when when I can, when I'm on my travels. I'm down watching, through various means and ways that I possibly can when I'm abroad, and I'm feeling positive about the season going forward. And I think that if we can just sign a couple more players, we really could be there, because going forward, I've watched all the pre-season games. We've been phenomenal going forward, but at the back, it's been abysmal. It's been just one mistake after another. And for me, we haven't got enough strength and depth. I don't think Robertson's the player that he used to be at left back. I don't think Arnold is not a right back. He's a midfielder. So we need a right back and we need a left back. And I think we need a really good centre back to push Virgil and Kanate. I can't understand why we didn't buy Gavardia, because he's exactly what we need. Someone strong, tough, someone who's just probably going to go straight into the team. Do you know what I mean? And then they could have played. Imagine if they'd have had Gavardia, Kanate, and Van Dijk at the back.
Yeah.
Three, because I think the 3-4-3 for me is the best way going forward. I mean, we have got Thiago to come in. He could play that sixth role, and I think he could play it well, but he's, as you know, he's injury prone. And like we spoke earlier, is Curtis Jones a number 6? We're not quite sure because we haven't seen him playing that. He played for the under-21s in that position and he played well. But I don't know if he's that energetic, like you said. Both agreed he's a kid and he's not ready for that role as much as he's an awesome player. Mm-hmm. And the two new signings, McAllister and how do you say his name now?
Sloboslai. Sloboslai.
Yeah. Sloboslai. They looked good in pre-season, but they're still a little bit rusty and they've still got to go into the mould. What I do like, which is a really good positive, is his corners. They're brilliant and he's getting them right into that good position. And the goal that Diaz scored against Darmstadt was a beauty. Mm-hmm. But like we said, they conceded after 2-0 and I thought we're going to win this about 4-5. But then you just had that slight doubt. Liverpool are at that moment in time where we'll probably score more than you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I also, I look at it like half empty glass though, because a lot of those goals weren't scored when Kanouté and Virgil were playing. So some people like gauge pre-season as like what's going to happen during the season, which is wrong, because I remember when we won Champions League, I think, and we lost nearly every single pre-season game. So I think yes, it needs to be strengthened, but I also think like our first 11, I think is tops. I do. Great. I think we can beat anyone.
If we're on our game, like if Robertson has a good game, because people don't realise how important he is. When he was in his prime, he was setting up goals and he was the biggest, most assists as a fullback in the history in one season, and he was just crossing the ball beautifully. But him and Tsimikas have just not been at the races for the last year or so. And Arnold, I mean, pre-season he's looked a bit rusty. He's had a few good moments, but I just hope he can fit into that role. But and Van Dijk has lost a little yard of pace, and he looks better as a captain now. I agree, but Kanate, he gets caught out and he makes clumsy mistakes and errors. He's good. He's fast and pacey and strong, but you want, when you look at say Ruben Diaz and Laporte and you just kind of think, are they as good as them two? Or Gavardia, are they going to be as good as those? And that's the level that they should be at if we want to win. Because Arsenal, I think, have got a good team, but I don't think they're quite. I don't think Havertz is a great signing, and with Gabriel Jesus getting injured, I think they might struggle. And the same with Chelsea, and Kiko has got injured, so he's going to miss part of the season. And if you remember when Liverpool had a lot of players missing, that was when we struggled. But when we had all our players available and Henderson was kicking on all cylinders, we were just unbeatable. We were just amazing. And even when we lost players, like in the Champions League semi-finals, when Salah couldn't play, and we had to have a bit of a makeshift team, we still managed to do it. And I mean, a prime example is when Liverpool won Champions League against AC Milan. I mean, that team, player for player, was nowhere near as good as Milan. And yet, and this is something that a lot of people don't understand, It's how you get everyone playing together. And that's what Liverpool did when they won the league. They all were on the same page. They were all literally, we're going to win this game. And they were coming out of the traps at the beginning and bang, they were on fire. You know, everyone was 110%. And it's like in lower league football, it's exactly the same. I mean, for example, on Monday night we played the team, young kids, absolute mustard. They were really good. And we had a makeshift team because half our players were missing. But I managed to pull in some players. And I'd done the team talk and I said, look, you know, let's keep it tight at the back. Let's blah, 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 blah. And we did, and we won 7-1. And it was the confidence, it was the strength, it was the desire and the will to win. And Klopp is really good at motivating players, as we know. I love the fact the way he puts his arm around players. They're like his sons, and he treats them all like that. And it's a beautiful thing to watch because, you know, I do that with my kids and you know, even the players that I play with, put my arm around and tell them how well they play. And there's nothing like a good confidence boost. But when you're losing games like we did in the period, and it's always bloody January, you start, you know, get some doubt in their mind and their confidence low. That's what worries me is the strength and depth when we get to like January, February time. If we've lost like 7 or 8 games, you know, we're going to be struggling to get in the Champions League with the competition that like Man United are improving, City are always strong, Chelsea are improving, Tottenham have made a few good signings, Newcastle will probably make a few signings in January. So it's going to be a tough season ahead, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even like Villa last season, and they've bought really well again. So it's going to be tougher this season. It's I just believe, like, you know, a lot of the fan base will be like, we need to buy, you know, superstars. That the whole Bellingham saga went on way too long. I think FSG should have been more transparent and gone, we're not in for him. But this whole PR spin was put on it. And everybody starts believing what's on Twitter, what's coming from the ITKs on Twitter. Some journos who have nothing to do with Liverpool would just put it like, yeah, you know, Liverpool are in for Bellingham. There's a 250 million war chest, which FSG or Klopp have never said. But people start believing it. And then that's the issue when it doesn't happen. People start to get really pissed off. I didn't believe there was a 250 million war chest because of the way FSG have worked in the past 13, 14 years. They don't spend that kind of money on players without at least selling an asset. And there was really no asset to sell because, you know, Salah had renegotiated his contract. So Alisson wasn't leaving, Van Dijk wasn't leaving, so there wasn't really anyone to sell. But I think a lot of people just need to calm down a bit because, you know, we bought players from relegated teams like Gini and Robbo, and they've done really well. And my thing is, like, we've got McAllister for 35 million, which is an absolute steal. I think we owe Brighton an apology. Szoboszlai for 60 mil is brilliant as well because I think he's going to be world class. You know, I just think we need a couple more players, and if we get somebody for 10, 15 mil, you know, as long as Klopp wants that player, and it's not somebody like we did last season where we got Arthur Mello in at the last minute, who was just not his fault, not the lad's fault. You know, that was to me Klopp's fault. You know, he said at the beginning of that season the midfield was okay, and then all of a sudden, right at the end, he was like, "I made a mistake," and then Mello came in, and lo and behold, he gets injured. You know, poor sod. It's not his fault.
It's such a shame because we never got to see how good he could have been.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest mistake was not signing Bellingham because he literally walked into the Madrid team and off the ground running. And he literally first game he was like that chip against Man United, which was ridiculous. And he's a brilliant player. He would have fitted into our squad really well. He would have been a future captain, and he could have been another Stevie G and took us on to some great things. And this is the thing that frustrates me about like Real Madrid and Barcelona. They've literally stolen all the best players or got the best players that we've either had or we've been interested in. It's like, right, let's watch Liverpool and see who they're going to go for, and then we'll grab him if we think he's good. You know, Fabio Aurelio was one of my favourite left-back players, and some of the goals he scored from free kicks and passes, he was just brilliant. He went, Xabi Alonso went, Mascherano went, Michael Owen went, who's at the time was one of my favourite players. That goal against Arsenal was just unbelievable. And all the two goals, actually. And, you know, all of our best players have just been, Suarez, that season he played in the 12-13 was just probably the best footballer you've ever seen play for Liverpool. The one season, he was untouchable. He's both-footed. And we lost all of our great players to Real Madrid. And I just don't know why. I mean, we don't know what went on behind the scenes. But, you know, back in the day, Liverpool used to get deals done when Martin Edwards was around. And it was brilliant to watch. We've got those really good players in. And we can still sign some really good players. You know, like you said, I'm not going to be able to say his name. But he looks like he could be a great talent and a good buy. And McAllister as well for 35 million. But Liverpool have lost so many great players, and it's like we're taking a step back every time we get some good players and we lose them. You know, I'm very surprised that we've still managed to get Salah, and it's really weird. We're always like, oh, Mbappe wants to come to Liverpool. It's just basically Real Madrid have to get rid of someone big. So it's either Tuchemani or Valverde. They have to get rid of one of those players to sign Mbappe. And so why don't Liverpool just turn around and say, right, let's get Tuchemani or Valverde, because we know they're the sort of players that fit in our system. They're really good. I mean, I don't really know if we need another type of midfielder like that at the moment, because obviously we've got Thiago to come back, we've got Pajetic, we've got Curtis Jones and McAllister, and I'm not going to say his name because I keep getting it wrong. Big Dom. Yeah, exactly. And we have got, you know, we're blessed in midfield and attack, but it's just defence. I mean, what you tell me what defenders we could get, what left back could we get at the moment, and what centre back could we get, and a right back. I mean, is Gomez going to play there? Is someone? I personally, that's what we're going to have to do.
Yeah,
I think it really should be Gomez, Van Dijk, and Kanate, because Gomez has got pace and he's good and he's strong. And he can play right back, and he plays all right there. His only problem is he just gets caught out a position sometimes.
Yeah, he's and I think he's a confidence player as well. Like,
Absolutely.
remember the few seasons ago, it was him and Virgil. Like, they were really good, and then he got that injury against Burnley, and that messed his season up. But he was brilliant then. But he just seems to go missing too many times for me. And same, you know, if we're going to play this system where Trent plays this like double pivot in the 6, Matip can't cover that side. Kanute is pretty fast for a big fella. He can kind of cover that right side when Trent moves forward. Matip can't do that. He's like a dead giraffe.
He really is. I mean, I used to love Matip when he was in his prime. He was really good, but he's him and Phillips are just players that I don't really want to see play for Liverpool. And in the pre-season games, we conceded down that right side. We conceded 11 goals in pre-season, which is a lot of goals. And I just feel like he should be focusing on that, thinking, going forward, I've got nothing to worry about. In midfield, we've got strength now. I mean, I do hope they get the Lavia deal over the line, but in defence, we're just not strong enough. We're just not strong enough. And our goalie has saved us on so many occasions. It's unreal. And we need to make some signings in the back line to, you know, because if you look at the teams seasons when Liverpool won a lot, they had a really good defence. You know, they had 3, 4, 5, 6 defenders that were just mustard. When Liverpool won the championship, you know, a few years back, that defence was at its prime. And then going into the next season, they should have looked at that instead of keep buying attackers all the time. Because now we're blessed with so many attackers that we could sell one of the best in Firmino. You know, I know he was just past his, let's say, past his best. when he came on against Arsenal, he just proved, didn't he, and scored that header. You just knew that he was going to do it. You just knew that he was the man. He gets in the right place. Should have kept him for another season, and he could have helped develop Nunes and maybe Gakpo and Jota into even better players. I'm liking the way Gakpo's going, and I think Jota is a natural goal scorer. I think he's got the Fowlerish about him. He gets in good positions and he takes his chances really well. I just hope Nunes can do the same, because I do love Nunes. I love that pace about him. I love the fact that he can score the really difficult goals, but it's the easy ones that he seems to miss.
Yeah.
And ones that just the ones that Jota seems to score.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think with Nunes, it's still a learning curve for him. I would have more issues with Nunes if he wasn't getting in the positions he gets in. Yeah. If he wasn't doing that, then I'd be really worried about him. But he gets in the positions. Doak, you watched the other day, the last one, where Doak had crossed it, and Nunes should have put that in.
Absolutely.
It is frustrating because you know there's a player in there, and you know he can be a world beater, but it's just I think he thinks too much. Just put the ball in the back of the net. Don't dilly dally about stuff. Just get it in there. And but I do like he's a bit mental. I think we need players like that because Suarez was kind of the same. It seems South Americans they'll do anything to win. I mean, I don't want Nunes to bite people, but I do want him to wrestle. I want him to do whatever it is to actually win a football game. But yeah, I think I'm hoping this is his breakout season, because I do see a player in there.
Do you know who would have been a good player that we should have looked at? Is that Elise as well from Crystal Palace? He would have been a really good. Could you imagine him flying down the wings? I mean, he's a good player. But yeah, no, you're right about Nunes. The one thing that got my back up was last season when that Crystal Palace player at the back, I didn't like him either. He agitated him and he just wound him up, and then he just retaliated. And that was a terrible start for Nunes, because that really put him on the back foot, and then he got injured. And it was just he didn't have that start that you dream of when a new player comes in. You want them to score on their debut. You want them to go on and have a good run and maybe bag a hat-trick in the 5th or 4th game or something. Start setting up players, and the whole team are like, this guy, we need him in the team every week because he's good for goals and he's also good for assists. Mm-hmm. And Nunes is not an assister. He's someone who just gets you goals, plain and simple. Do you know what I mean? And he needs to get his positioning better, and he needs to take his chances better. Because Jota is the opposite. He takes his chances really well, and he gets in really good positions, and he's really good at running the ball. And he's not a bad passer, Jota, but I would say that the midfielder, that's where we used to win a lot more games and score a lot more goals in terms of that creativity in midfield, when Thiago was firing and the balls being pinged in. And, that's because at the moment, Salah's assisting a lot of goals, isn't he? Rather than scoring a lot of goals, which is interesting. So there's obviously a change in formation and system slightly, because Salah was at the end of most goals. Now you've got Diaz scoring, you've got Jota scoring, which is great because you want them all to score 15, 20 goals in the season. But I just hope that Salah can get, that 30 goals again this season. Because if he does, and Jota's firing, and Nunes is firing, and Diaz is firing, and Gakpo as well, we got a bloody good chance to win the league, because that's a lot of goals. That is a lot of goals, and you're not taking into consideration Curtis Jones should probably get 5 or 10, maybe Vegeta could get a couple, and Van Dijk will grab a couple, maybe Kanate, Arnold might get a few from free kicks. We could definitely look like a decent scoring team, that's for sure.
Well, I think I'm hoping the midfield will add to it. Szoboszlai and McAllister.
McAllister, yeah. Who's going to take the penalties?
I think it'll still be Mo. I do.
Do you know what? I hope he doesn't, to be honest. Not because he's missed a few, but I just, looking at the Hungarian and McAllister, they look better penalty takers. I don't think McAllister's missed a penalty, has he, for
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
And he does look like he could put the ball right in the back of the net. Whereas you look at Salah sometimes and you think, I knew that last penalty he took that he missed. I was like, I know he's going to miss this. I knew it. And you just know who's a better penalty taker. And it's like, I don't know, maybe taking that away from him might dishearten him in a way, might put him off his game slightly and think, well, if they don't trust me to take the penalties, is this my team? Do they believe in me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think with Mo, I mean, you know, he was given a much wider role last season.
He was, wasn't he?
I think by Klopp, and it just wasn't getting the best out of him. And then defenders seem to have got his number for a while.
Oh,
Plus,
totally.
I mean, I think it's disgraceful. Like the refereeing and the linesman on Mo has been fouled many times. I mean, Bernard Silva, was it last season, nearly tore his shirt off, and then Mo, I think with Davies from Spurs, same thing, and then Davies got the free kick. Like I don't think he gets the recognition he deserves. I mean, I see other wingers who go down and they get the free kick. Mo doesn't.
No, he stays on his feet, doesn't he? He'd rather like score a goal or not make the opponent look right. That's a penalty and it was a soft tackle. Salah's a very, very gifted player, and when it's all confidence. When he's confident, he's just ridiculously good. He's up there in the top 5 players in the world. Mm-hmm. But that's what we've got to get him to. Is he coming to the latter stages of his career as he peaked, or can we still see another 1 or 2 seasons of brilliant Mo Salah? I mean, hopefully, if he bags 30 plus goals this season, then obviously Liverpool are going to be up there, because all the other players I've mentioned, like Gakpo, I think Gakpo will get 15. Mm-hmm. I think Jota will get 15. I think Nunes will get 15 plus, and Diaz will probably be about 10 or 12 as well. I mean, the goal he scored the other night was phenomenal. Oh. You know, and if the Hungarian is putting balls in like that from corners every week, then we're going to score a lot of goals. Well,
it's nice to see somebody else than Robertson take a corner.
Exactly. And
Robertson's corners, especially last season, were just absolutely crap. They weren't even reaching.
It's been terrible for a while, isn't it?
Mm.
And there was a time when Tsimikas came in when he first joined the club, and we was like, "Whoa, this boy can cross the ball! Look at those passes!" And he was getting a few assists. And it was like Robertson didn't see that and think, "You know what? I better up the game." And I don't know what's happened with Andy Robertson. I don't know whether he's been worrying about things off field, or he's just he's just not at the races. I mean, he's got legs; he can run up and down, and he can, but he's passing. He just needs to work on those crosses and get those assists in, because it makes the difference.
And he needs to work on his shooting as well.
Sorry,
he needs to work on his shooting, because how many times has he gotten free down that left side, and he's about 7 yards out, and he skies it every single time. That's why, like, I don't get excited. Like when somebody crosses to him and he's wide open, I'm just like, this is going over the bar.
It's like watching Lucas Lavia take a shot at goal. You know what's going to happen, don't you? You know it's going to go wide or over the bar. And I think that it's like the other teams know. I mean, I don't know if you play football yourself, but when you play against an opponent and you think, right, they're going to cross the ball, and like say 7 times out of 10, that ball is not going to get where it needs to go. Your own defender's probably going to clear it, or it's going to get deflection, or it's not going to pinpoint straight into where it goes. Watch Tony Kroos. He is one of the best passers in the world. I think he's even slightly better than Arnold. And I watched him, and his corners, his free kicks, and his passing, it's just so elegant. It's just, I hate it because I don't like him particularly. But that is how to pass the ball. And I would just sit there and say, look, this is how it's done. Mm-hmm. Don't try and overdo it. Just get that ball to where it's got, because you've got the skills to do it. You don't need to teach Arnold to do this, because he is one of the best crossers and passers in the world. So if Robertson can, I don't know why Robertson and Arnold are not, breathing off each other in that respect. to get Robertson to get those crosses that he should be doing. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we were doing that, we were just unstoppable.
Oh yeah, unplayable. Well, remember the cross he did for Salah against City?
Oh, and the one against yeah, and there was I was thinking of the one against West Ham, but that was sold. One of my favourite players,
Shaqiri, yeah.
Yeah, that was a bloody good cross, wasn't it?
It was.
I saw a goal that he scored the other day. Actually, he's doing all right in MLS. Old Shaqiri.
Yeah, for Chicago, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good player.
Yeah, we have a MLS team here in Austin, and he came and played, and my mate, took his little boy, said he was class. He had time to sign the jerseys and stuff. So yeah, I was there. I went back home for when we beat Man United 3-1, and Shaq scored twice. And I mean, I wanted him to do much better, but like injuries and stuff just hampered his Liverpool career, as it has hampered quite a number of players at Liverpool. That's another thing that I'm a bit worried about. Like, we've been having these muscle injuries constantly. This last season was like, it was Milner, then it was Konaté, then it's Jota, then it was Hendo. Like, it just seems like what's going on in the medical department. We didn't have a doctor for 6 to 7 months. It just seems like something's happening behind the scenes that we're not really knowing what's going on,
I think I'll tell you what is an interesting theory, right? When a team's winning games consistently, now check this out, and this is exactly right. When Arsenal were top of the league last season, what happened? Saliba got injured, and that was it then. And then as soon as he went from the back four, they just started dipping. And I think towards the end of the season, they didn't pick up any points. Obviously, they drew with us. That was a probably interesting game as well. And it just goes to prove, a lot of people say, oh no, one player's not going to make a difference. But when you lose a key player in a key place, that affects the whole team. And he affected Arsenal's, position. And it's like when Liverpool, when they started losing, players, like when Stevie G got injured, the team, there was no one to fill in that position. And I think that it does make a difference. Like you said, when you start getting injuries. Sorry, what I was going on to say is when you're winning, a lot of players, it's like they prevent themselves from getting injured. It's like that I can't afford to get injured. So they won't go in for stupid tackles. They won't go over the top. They won't be too aggressive. They'll just play to their strengths and how good they are. And if you look at, like, a good example is Bernardo Silva. As much as no one really likes him, he didn't half give 110% every game. And he doesn't stop running. And his passing and his positional play is really good. And it's like Kevin De Bruyne as well. He gets fouled an awful lot. And that's why he gets injured. Because people know, take out De Bruyne, and Man City are not going to be as strong because Haaland's not going to get those passes that he needs. And this is the key element is to keep your best players fit and strong throughout the season, and you should be hitting top four with those key players. Mm-hmm. And that, if you look at, say, Man City, they rarely have their best players injured, apart from, I mean, De Bruyne does suffer with a few calf and thigh problems, doesn't he, and ankle problems. But Man City generally, they don't, Grealish never gets injured. Mm-hmm. And, Edison, you never see him getting really injured that much. And Stones was injury prone, but most of the best players in the City team, like Haaland, for example, he played pretty much most of the season, and every time he played, he scored a bloody goal. I knew the moment that he stepped into that team that he was going to break that record. Goals. Yeah. Knew it. I was like, you could just see it. If you know your football, you think that guy's going to get 40 goals this season. And he got bloody about 50 goals, didn't he? He was ridiculous. Yeah. And I just kind of think to myself, it's like Mbappe when he goes to Real Madrid. He's just going to bag 50, 40 goals a season there. It's just going to be...
Makes you sick, doesn't it?
when you look right, at Real Madrid's recruitment, they're building a team of Galacticos again. Tuchemani, Valverde, Bellingham. They're going to get Mbappe. They've got one of the best goalies in the world. They've got the best defence in the world. They're going to have the best strike force in the world.
And what's great about
Junior.
Madrid as well is, they've brought Bellingham in and Valverde, who's been there.
And Modric and Tuchemani.
But they can learn from Kroos and Modric. That's the thing, I have played football before at a good level, and I would tell anyone to watch videos of Modric and Kroos. They are absolutely unbelievable, and I can't imagine. Bellingham is in the same locker room and he trains with them every single day. That lad's only 19. He's only going to get better and better. He's already mature for a 19-year-old. So his head's, already set, and he's going to be watching them every single day, and he's going to get better and better because his positional play,
Yeah,
and while we've, we've missed the boat, and it does upset me. We should have been sorting this midfield out 2-3 seasons ago. I'm the first one to put my hand up at the last season after the Community Shield. I was like, it's on. We're going to challenge again. Do we need any midfielders, Daz? Nah, I think we're good because I was confident, and then all these injuries started happening, and then there was a massive just drop in form. I think it's down to a lot of things. Probably playing 63 games, every match we could possibly play, coming so close to a quadruple. I mean, that's got to hit you emotionally and physically, and then not really having a full pre-season, having loads of injuries in the first couple of weeks, then the World Cup. So, I mean, I know other teams probably had the same, but they didn't play 63 games. And, to light that fire, I guess I always put it like, say you played the best gig ever, at Wembley or something in front of 100,000 people. How do you get yourself going again to play a 20,000 seater? That's how I picture with musicians. Or, you put out an album, it's sold millions, and then your next album isn't as good, not in your term, but like just in sales. And then that's players as well. You've got to light that fire. And I think Klopp has to light that fire again in this team, because
I agree. You know what? You just hit the nail on the head there. It's lighting that fire again, because he's done it before, and he's got to do it again with this new group of players that he's got. And if he can do that, I mean, right, let's be optimistic. Let's think about the good that we've got. We've got one of the world's best strike forces, and we're building a really good midfield, and hopefully Arnold coming into midfield and Bajcetic, and obviously if Thiago can get fit, because he's a wonderfully gifted footballer. I mean, every time I go on Twitter and something, you see a little reel of Thiago, you just like, those games against City and Chelsea, he was just majestic. So if we can get him back to being as half as good, even for just a bloody season, do you know what I mean? For one more season, it will be great. I mean, Fabinho and Henderson, loved them both as players. I thought they gave their heart for Liverpool. And Fabinho, he had some really good games. He was a great player in that position, but he lost his legs. We all knew that, and same with Henderson. So the move to get 40 million for Fabinho was a really good deal. And Henderson, I'm happy for him, because he's now made for life, and he's next season he would have been on a free transfer. He probably would have been playing for a reasonably good team in the Premiership, and then he would have fizzled out. Now he's just going to go on and make a living for the rest of his life, and he'll come back. And I know that there's a lot of talk about the Saudi stuff and what goes on out there, but they live their life the way they have done, and we can't change that. As much as we'd like to try and do that, you can't tell people what to do. It's up to them to make those changes. We can help, and we can like Henderson done a lot for all that cause, but he had to think about his family and stuff like that. It's like, for example, if someone said to you, right, we need you to move to Dubai. We're going to pay you £1 million a year to do your podcasts from Dubai. You'd be gone by tomorrow. You'd say, you obviously have to convince maybe your wife if you're married and your family, but for 1 year or 2 years, it'd be a bloody good move. And if someone said the same to me, we want you to come to Dubai, we're going to pay you $5 million. You're just only going to be able to play your gigs in Dubai, but it's for a year if you want to do it, or Saudi or whatever. I'd say, yeah, because that's going to provide something special for my family. And it's not the money talks, but it's the future. Do you know what I mean? It is your future, and and you got to think about what it has done. And Henderson gave his all for this club. And I think the time was right for him to move on. I think Van Dijk is a great person to come in as captain. I know we've lost Milner, Fabinho and Henderson, 3 really influential players there. And Firmino as well. We have lost a core of really good, lovable characters at the football club that we all worshipped. Henderson, that season in COVID, when you heard him talking, that just gave you an insight to what the guy was actually all about.
Yeah.
You realise, God, he does make a difference. Because I've played with players where they weren't technically gifted, but they're talking on the field. If you push forward and suddenly you're saying, Martin, get back, you need to be. And I'm like, yeah, oh God, I've been caught out of position here. And if I didn't have someone saying that, and that's what Henderson would do to all of the players, all on the pitch, and he'd also be saying, well done, son, well done, good ball, that was brilliant. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that was a good ball. And then their confidence starts going. And imagine what that would have done for, let's say Nunez and maybe Gakpo. Because Gakpo, I think he's quite a religious person, isn't he? I think Gakpo. And I think that he's quite humble and grounded. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I like the fact that he's like that. And he will go out and you can see the way he plays that he is just so focused. He's a very focused player, Gakpo, isn't he? Mm-hmm. He's a very neat and tidy player as well. And he's
but a big lad as well.
He is a big, tall lad, isn't he? We need to get some more balls into the box ring to head into the goal. But I'm feeling optimistic about the season going forward. I think we've got a lot of really good, talented players. I just hope that we can sign a couple of defenders.
I agree. I wanted to get into your bit of your musical journey, because it's crazy to think how long you've been around. I mean, it's pretty long. I mean, I'm a Depeche Mode fan as well, and I think like 1981 was their first single, and they've been around for ages, and I'm just like, they're still kicking it. But like, in the dance scene, you see lots of flavour of the month come and go. But you've been around for a very long time. What were your like early influences in music?
So when I first started out, I had a friend, and I used to live in Bognor Regis, of all places. That's where I grew up as a teenager. And he was into like electro and hip hop, so African Bambaataa, all the like early electro, Egyptian Lover, and all the Johnson Crew, and the early like hip hop scene as well with Grandmaster Flash and stuff like that. And we used to set up breakdance club, and I was more of a dancer then. And then the decks were left there for us. So we started playing music, and I went on the decks and I started having a go, and I thought, wow, this is really good fun. I actually prefer this because I wasn't brilliant at breakdancing. And it used to hurt as well. I used to get terrible planes breakdancing. So I started DJing. And then one day I was like scratching a Beastie Boys record called She's Krafty. And I was scratching Krafty, Krafty. I was like, wow, that could be a name for a DJ. I'm a bit crafty. And everyone said, oh yeah, you're a bit crafty behind the deck. So I got that, and then I thought, crafty, what could I do? Crafty cuts and scratches. So that was when my DJ name came up. And then I entered a competition locally, and I was about 16. It was an under-18s club, and I never had an opportunity to DJ on Technics turntables. So this was a chance because they had Technics behind there. So I worked my little set to enter this competition at home on a little stack system, and used to hold the button in with the deck, turntable and 2 tape players, and then I could scratch by holding one button in over the tapes and make my own, practice my own mixes, mix records over it. And then my mate had a couple of belt drive turntables, and I entered this competition, and I got to the final, and I lost in the final, but the experience was just like, it was like a buzz. I was like, this is an addiction. And I started collecting records, going to car boot sales, building up my record collection. Then I bought a record store, started writing music. My early influences like Jazzy Jeff, DJ Cash Money, and they're both, Cash Money was a world DMC champion. And these people I've now got to meet and become friends. Jazzy Jeff's a friend, Cash Money's a friend. I've met Grandmaster Flash and done loads of shows with them. And I've met some of the best, DJs on the planet, from all walks of life, from Tiesto to Carl Cox to Fatboy Slim. And obviously I've worked with a lot of these guys, and I toured with The Prodigy just before Keith passed away, which was a great experience. But I first got into music through, I wrote a Big Beat record, and I gave it to Fatboy Slim when I had my record shop in Brighton. And he goes, "Oh, this is really good." And it was like a dub plate, cut a dub plate, which cost like 70 quid at the time. It's like 30 years ago. A lot of money then. And I was like, "Look, you have it, Norman. You're going to get way more use than I am." And it was called Give Me the Funk. And he played it and he loved it. And he charted it in the Mixmag chart. And Ministry of Sound caught wind of this, and they run a label called FSUK at the time. And it just started, and they said, "We're looking for Big Beat tunes," because Big Beat was massive at the time. Renegade Master, Bad About a Swing. It was all the some early Fatboy Slim stuff, and the Chemical Brothers, John Carter, all the early Big Beat stuff. It was huge. It was a huge movement at the time. And I was like, I made this music, and then Ministry called me in, and I signed a deal with them, and that was it then. I made some music in the studio, and then literally, because they had the platform to promote me, it was bang. I was China, Australia, doing tours of China, Australia, New Zealand, all over Asia, America, playing huge festivals, playing with all Russia, playing to 15,000 people with Tiesto, all these crazy gigs. And I just, basically what I do is I just listen to what and see a lot of what other people are playing, and let that inspire me to keep my music at the front, so just keep not changing my style, but just keep making it better and improving it all the time. Because it's like anything, you've got to have a hunger, and as soon as you lose that hunger, you then start to your quality starts to dip, because you're not concerned, you're not worried. And it's like, if you let yourself go, do you know what I mean, in your appearance or whatever, people don't look up to you or think as highly of you. If you look at some of the best actors and actresses in the world, they look amazing, like Tom Cruise. How good does the bloke look? And he never fails to do a good movie, for whatever, he might be a Scientologist and you might think good or bad of him. But as an actor, he's bloody amazing. The Mission Impossible movies are incredible, and all the movies that he's done. And, he looks after himself. Brad Pitt, I mean, the videos and pictures of him at Wimbledon, the guy's like nearly 60. He looks incredible. And you kind of think to yourself, you've got to look up to him. The guy is a good-looking chap, and he looks after himself. And it's like footballers. If they look after themselves and they eat healthy and, they play well, they can have a career that can last up to like 37, 38. Do you know what I mean? Thiago's a good example for Chelsea. He's still playing well up until, last season he had a few good games in him last season. He might be teetering out now, but you can see he looks after himself and he plays well. And I think that's an important aspect. If you look after yourself, have a good diet. I'm not in the best shape, but I still play football. And, and I listen to a lot of other DJs, and I listen to a lot of other music. My life is constantly around music. When I'm in my car driving 4 hours to 5 hours to Manchester or Liverpool or wherever, Cornwall, wherever I need to go to, I've always got music on, or I'm listening to TalkSport, like I said. And I'm getting inspiration, feeling a buzz. I listen to a funk track and think, you know what, that's a good idea for my next track, with Charlie Tuna or Dynamite or whatever. And I'll sample that bit of music, or it'll help me get vibey on the keyboards and get some good riffs going. And so, I'm always listening and paying attention to what's forward thinking is the name of the game. Always updating your set, never playing the same set twice, making really good music that appeals to the younger audience and the older audience. So you're not like alienating your fans, and just being a good person, on Twitter and Instagram. I'm not opinionated and saying, oh, I don't agree with this and I don't agree with that. That's for the other people to look at that. I like watching something where, for example, some guy who's got a disability or something, and he does something extremely well. That is inspiring. Like I saw a picture today of a team from Newcastle who had Down syndrome, and it was a picture of all of them together, and it just brought a tear to my eye. You know what I mean? I just thought, this is brilliant. These people, and they look so happy, and I just thought, that's me as a person. I'm very motivated by inspirational things. And I love seeing people achieve their goals and doing well. Those are the things that make me happy. I'm not one of these persons that hates another opposition. Yeah, I don't particularly like Man United and Man City. And yeah, there's been times when I've hated them when they've beaten us, and I've been angry, but I don't let it, eat me up and drive me crazy. Do you know what I mean? And when I see other DJs who are really bloody good, I don't think to myself, oh, I'm jealous. I'm annoyed. Or why is he so good? I'm like, wow, that guy's so good. I'd rather talk about them and post about them and repost and be part of their journey as well, rather than be one, oh, I don't like what Marshmello or Deadmau5 or Tiesto or any of these guys are doing, just because I don't like that music. So it's not for me, don't like them. No. It's like, respect it. Yeah, respect is a massive part of all.
That's their thing, that like the main stage is like Tomorrowland. That's their thing,
Exactly.
It's too like the Americans brought the word EDM up. I and it's more pop electronic music. It's like when you see these DJs like jumping on the stage and getting the microphone. To me, it reminds me of a school disco. What they used to do, but that's their thing. And then you look in the crowd, and people are loving it. So I can't hate on anybody that's there and listening to that music. It's not for me. I'm grew up on electro, and early hip hop as well. And, the big beat for me was something different because the bass lines were harder, but still kept the funk. And it brought in an indie crowd as well, which I really liked, It didn't last long. I was a big fan of John Carter, the Propeller Heads. It was something different different from the 4/4 house beat, the acid house that we all grew up with. So I went to the break side of things, and then breakbeat kind of went different. It went the new school breaks, Adam Freeland, Marine Parade. It got very harder, very twisted, and I like the funk.
New school break scene took a little bit of the funk out of
yeah, exactly. They lost the soul. They kind of lost the soul for me. It was more, you could tell it was like more, I don't know how to really explain it, but more like digital, like the sounds.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's like, like drum and bass, there was a time when it got really hard and really gnarly and like, like your pendulums and all that sort of stuff. But now music goes in cycles. It's like a big circle. What goes around comes around. It's like disco. Has come back in and gone back out and then come back in and like indie music. If you look at like the festival scene, you see a lot of indie bands in there, and you kind of think, yeah, I want to go and see those. And it's like Depeche Mode, for example. They're one of the most sought after live acts on the planet. I go and see Depeche Mode because I used to like Depeche Mode as well. And I think the UK has got this unique festivals. It's totally different, like you said, from America. You go on and watch a video in America, and you hear like boom, and it's really loud and leery. But that's their thing. That's what they like. That's what they do. And you go to Tomorrowland, and you see like, say for instance Stevie Aoki with his top off, and playing to like 50,000, 60,000 people, and he's playing some sort of like crazy record that, but that's his thing, and I'm not there to criticise that. And I've met Steve Aoki. He's a really nice guy, and he does a lot of good things for music and stuff like that. So, what he plays and what all the other DJs play, if I'm not into it, it's not for me to judge. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I'm always taking inspiration and influences. I might hear a Prodigy record and think, you know what, I'm going to play that at this point in my set, but just put my own take on it. Or I might get, like, for example, watch Guardians of the Galaxy, and the music in there, there's an old like Aerosmith record or whatever. You think, you know what, I'll take that, remix it, and put it in my set, because that music, everyone loves that song. And I've got Dream On in my set, and it's one that's been used in TikTok viral videos and stuff like that. And I've got a drum and bass version that I use of it, and it absolutely goes off. And I remember years ago, I'll tell you what, I learned a really good lesson. There was an amazing club in London, in Leicester Square, called Home, that was like rivaling Fabric at the time. And I got asked to DJ there, and this was about 20 years ago, and I was so excited. And I was like, this is my opportunity to prove myself. And this was just before I got a Fabric Festival as well. And so I went there and I played on 3 decks for 2 hours solid. I didn't even get a chance to take a sip of my drink. I was in there, like, going amongst it, like bang, bang, bang. Literally felt like I played the best set of my life. And then this Brazilian guy I'd never heard of come on after me, and he played Jar Screechy Walk and Skank as his first record, which is what SL2 song with the what da 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 they in. And this was the time before everyone could find out what that was on the internet. They wouldn't be able to Shazam it. You'd have to go out and dig and find out what that record was. And I didn't know that record. I didn't even think of finding the original from the SL2 record. This guy had done his own work, and his first record. So basically, that 2 hours that I just played, might have even been 3 hours. Everyone had forgotten about what I just played, because that next DJ just got the most incredible reaction with his first record. And he might not have been technically as good or any better than me, but his first record done the business. And that was a changing point in my life. And I thought, you know what? I cannot never let this happen again. So I've got to improve my sets from the start to the finish. And every single record that I play, I feel like it's got to be a winner. Depending on where I'm playing and what I'm playing. If I'm playing to 100 people and I've got 3 hours, and I want to take them on a little bit of a journey. So not every record is going to be a monster. But if I'm playing at a festival and I've got an hour to 20,000 people, there's no restraints. It's go, go, go from the get. And I've got to play winner after winner, chicken dinner, all the way through. And that's what I've always done. And I'm so passionate. And I play on 4 decks, and I'm literally mixing, scratching, going for it. And if you come and see Krafty Kuts, then I want you to be entertained. I want you to walk away and go, wow, I've just had one of the best experiences of my life. I've just heard so many good records. I've just seen a DJ that really has given it his all. And that was fun. I just danced for an hour, 2 hours. Literally, I didn't even get a chance to go to the toilet because I just didn't want to leave because I was having such a good time. And I've had people saying, oh, I got married to your music. You inspired me. I had a message the other day from some guy who was homeless, and he said he managed to scrounge some money together to come and see me play, and he turned his life around. And a year later, he was DJing, he had a girlfriend, and he was very, very happy. And he said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in this position. And that's happened a couple of times. And then there's people who saw me through COVID when I'd done my streams. They said, oh my God, you inspired me, and you and your son, just, because I feel like, me personally, I'm just talking about myself, I've got really good taste in music because I had a record shop. I like funk, jazz, rave, disco, hip hop, electro. And when I play music within my streams, people got to see another side of me because they heard me play some of my inspirational tracks and talk about them and other things. So they saw that. And then with my compilations that I'd done and my mix CDs, like Back to Mine, Funky Side of Things.
Back to Mine is one of my favourites from you. It's that and More Chiba one.
Yeah, that's a brilliant one.
Class.
That's a brilliant one. And I wanted to show people how much good music there is out there. And if we had 10 hours, I literally could play you loads of music. And oh my God, that's really good. You know, a rock record, a disco record, a punk record. And you'd be like, oh my God, I love that record. And I do it with my girlfriend. We get in the car and I play her a tune and she's immediately Shazamming it. And then the next day I'm hearing her like go around there and she's doing some cleaning and she's got it on in the background and she's happy. She's got a big smile on her face and she's like, and that's what music can do. It can really motivate you. And it's like football. Football's exactly the same. And anyone who's passionate about their team will tell you, right, come Monday morning, if your team has won at the weekend, and regardless of whether it's a big game or not, it's always beneficial if you've beaten Man City, Man United, Chelsea or Arsenal or Tottenham or whatever. And you're like, honestly, I'm absolutely over the moon. I'm ringing Barry from the Dub Pistols on Sunday evening. How good was that game? Oh, he was mustard, blah, 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 blah. He played brilliant, blah, blah, blah. And that's what football does in the same way as music does. Because we know we're so passionate. You know, I've been to a few games at Anfield and I've cried when I've heard You'll Never Walk Alone. I'm getting teared up now thinking about it. It's so like amazing when you hear the crowd singing those songs. That song, sorry. And that is what football does. It brings tears to your eyes. It's emotional. It's just like, you know, you're seeing people that you idolise. Because I idolised all those Liverpool players, you know, especially Stevie G when he was there and Kenny Dalglish and, you know, all those great players over the past. I looked up to those and I met some of them on my journeys. I've met Phil Thompson, absolute legend. We sat on the plane together for an hour and all we done was talk about football. I met Glenn Hoddle. I met Pat Jennings. I've met Bruce Grobbelaar. I've been up to the at the club in the clubhouse and where you've had drinks and food and stuff. And I've met some of the famous players there. And, you know, I was so nervous. I was like shaking. It was like I'd met, you know, my idol. Because all great Liverpool players from like Phil Neal, Alan Hansen, you know, Ray Clements, up until the present day, you know, if they're wearing that Liverpool badge, they've got to be a good player. Jan Mulvey, etc., Xabi Alonso. Oh God, the list is endless. When they're wearing that Liverpool badge, and you can see when they've left how much it meant to them, because they either on, you know, you see them reporting on games, or you see them talking how they love the club still. You know, who is it? Who is that left back? He went to Seville, and
Moreno, Alberto
Moreno. Oh my God, he loves Liverpool, doesn't he? And you can see how much it means to him, even after he's gone. He's playing for another club, and yet he's just as passionate for Liverpool to win as his own team that he's playing for. And that's what he does. It's like Tsimikas when he scored that penalty in the FA Cup, wasn't it? Yeah, against Chelsea, wasn't it? The pure joy on his face, and he was just, the players loved it, and they loved the fact that he scored that goal as well, because he was like, you know, they've named him the Greek Scouser. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, and that's what it does. And you can see when they go to training, you know, fans will just watch Liverpool train because they love seeing the togetherness of that team. And there's not many teams that have that. Do you know what I mean? When I look at United, they're getting it a little bit. They are getting it. And that manager is doing a really good job, as much as it's painful me to admit. He is doing a good job, Ten Hag. He's getting rid of the dead wood. He's, you know, Maguire's going, isn't he? And McTominay's going. I'm not saying they're dead wood, but he's getting rid of players like that and bringing in better players. And he's building something there, like when Klopp came in and he started changing things around and we started getting some really good players in. And, you know, it does frighten me that United are getting back there. But I don't see that togetherness with United. I see it at City. They have got togetherness because Pep is an incredible manager. And I do see it slightly coming at Arsenal as well. You know, Arteta is building something there with some of the players. And Saka is a phenomenal player. I'd hate being a defender with him running at me. I really would. It'd scare the life out of me. And, you know, I don't think Chelsea have got a togetherness. They've been so up in the air for the last few years. It's ridiculous. They bought too many players. Newcastle, for the players that they've got, they're starting 11. I'll tell you what, another interesting fact. As soon as they bought, now he's another player we should have bought. What's his name? Botman. We should have bought him. We should have bought him because it made the difference for Newcastle. Because as we know, Newcastle conceded the least amount of goals last season. And they literally had the same starting 11 from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And that was stemming from, obviously, the goalie's really good, as much as I don't like Nik O'Connor. And the manager is a good manager. He does play some strange ways of football, like a lot of time wasting going on and a lot of he's a shrewd manager. But he saw it at the back and they were so solid at the back of the pass. And they conceded hardly any goals. And I would say, as much as I'm an attacking-minded player and coach myself, I do think that success starts at the back. The spine, going from the back to the front, you've got to have, your centre-back, the centre midfield, and the striker and the goalkeeper. That spine has got to be where it starts. And that's where City have got it. That's when Liverpool had it back in the day. And when we won the league, we had it. Real Madrid and Barcelona and Man United, when they were winning things, it was just that defence and goalkeeper. Schmeichel, when he was in goal and that back four that he had, he was going to beat him. No one was going to beat him. They were just ridiculously good, weren't they?
Yeah, spot on. Well, Martin, I've got two last questions for you. I always like to ask musicians, what is your ideal festival lineup? A Friday, Saturday, Sunday headliner, alive or dead? And then predictions for the season.
Okay, good questions. James Brown.
Friday.
Yeah, no. He'd be the end, wouldn't he? You've got to finish off James Brown, the master, at the end. I think so. Friday night would be your dance night, I think. Although saying that, would that be the best thing? Because your energy levels would peak too soon. So, no, I think Friday night would be some good bands. So I'd have like Chic, Sister Sledge, Parliament, Paul and the Gang in their prime, in their 70s, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder. And then Saturday would be all your dance acts like Jazzy Jeff. There's a DJ from Canada who's called Scratch Bastard, who's just literally one of the best DJs on the planet, DJ Newmark. Andy C, drum and bass. I'd have, who would be a good disco house DJ, because I do like my house disco. Roger Sanchez, probably. And then Sunday night would be obviously Prince, James Brown to just finish it off around with some good DJs like Norman Jays and you put me on the spot then, but yeah, just good funk, disco, hip hop, and drum and bass would be the spine of the whole weekend, and it would just be everyone would just go back with the best memories.
Well, it's all about, isn't it?
And going into predictions, that's going to be, realistically, I can't see anyone flipping Man City because they just bought Gavardio. I know they've sold Gundogan and Mahrez. Gundogan's going to be a huge miss for them. But if Haaland doesn't hit the road running, then we might be in for, could be Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United getting in there. But realistically, I think we all know that Man City are going to be the team to beat. So if I was a betting man and I was to put my own money onto bet, which I don't, I'd say City, Liverpool, Arsenal, United. My heart, my heart would be Liverpool, City, Arsenal, United. That's where I think. Well, no, I wouldn't want. If my heart, I'd say Liverpool, say Tottenham, Newcastle, and another team would be like that. That's what my heart would want. But realistically, we all know that City are, and trends show to us that, you know, when teams get it right, they have a long period of time where they win a lot of trophies, like Liverpool did in the late 70s and the 80s, and then Man United took over in the 90s, and then Chelsea took over a little bit, and then United were pushing them as well, and then over the last sort of 5 years, City have just been that level. I mean, just quickly before we go, the one thing that has upset me and frustrates me is the FSG situation. Because, listen, you don't have to be a magician to work out what Liverpool need to be a better team. We all know that. We all know that last season we needed midfielders. They didn't do it. They didn't recruit the right midfielders. We had the opportunity to buy Tuchel. They should have just gone in there and got him. Now he might be laid to waste at Real Madrid because they've got so many other good players. But we could have got him, but we didn't. Real Madrid came in and got him, put the money down, said thank you very much. He hardly played any games. It's such a shame. Again, we didn't get Bellingham, another waste, and Gavardio, another wasted player that we should have got. And, you know, yeah, we have bought some expensive players, and Alisson and Van Dijk over the years, and Nunes as well. But it's not consistent enough. And the thing with FSG is, I do feel like, right, let's be honest, if they bought the best players, just one or two, like top players, like your Bellinghams, etc., or your Mbappes, shirt sales would go through the roof because we're such a well-supported club. Everyone would be talking about Liverpool. The confidence would rise through the club. And just like when we signed Van Dijk and Alisson, it was like, yes, we got a team now. We got a team because these are real players. And yeah, McAllister's a good player. And so, tell me again how you say his name, the Hungarian.
Szoboszlai.
Szoboszlai. He's a great player, but it's not 100% guaranteed these are world-class players at this moment in time. But if you look at the players that City brought in and United over the years, and some of the players that Liverpool have brought in, when you brought in those world-class players, it makes the difference. It makes difference. When we had Suarez, he made the difference. Mm-hmm. And had we had a defence back then, we would have won the league hands down easy. You know, if it wasn't for that bloody Crystal Palace game and Chelsea game, if we'd have won that Crystal Palace game, the Chelsea game would have made no difference. We would have won the league by a point. So if we won that Crystal Palace game when we were 3-0 up at half-time and they came back to draw 3-0, those 2 points, I think, would have made the difference, wouldn't they? Even though we lost to Chelsea. So there's certain times when you need to buy players and they haven't. And that's what's let us down as a team. And I love my club to the end of the world, and I just want to see us do well. But we all know that certain decisions have not been made to recruit when we really needed to. And that is the most frustrating thing behind Liverpool, because we are a massive club. We're in the top 5 clubs in the world. Everyone knows that. You know, Barcelona, Man United, Real Madrid, Liverpool, and let's say Man City at the moment. Top 5 teams in the world. And I know Bayern Munich are up there as well. But Liverpool are there, so they should be. I mean, imagine if you owned Liverpool, you think to yourself, and you had enough money, you think to yourself, right, if I invest in this just a little bit more, we're going to make even more money because we're going to be challenging for all the top trophies like we did the season before. And the shirt sales, the revenue from the games, every if you want to watch a game, Liverpool's going to be one of the first teams you would pick to watch. You name all those games over the years, Dortmund game, the Barcelona game, you know, the FA Cup against Arsenal, the FA Cup against West Ham, when Liverpool just turned it around in the last minutes. Liverpool done some crazy things. The Alaves game, I'll never forget that game. I'll never forget that game. I've watched games where Liverpool played in the Newcastle game, and you just like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Is this for real? I mean, when Liverpool beat Barcelona 4-0, there's no way on earth I thought that would happen. We like to believe, and isn't that the beauty with our club? We still think, yeah, there's a chance we'll do it. And they bloody do it sometimes. It is incredible. Sorry, I could talk about Liverpool all day long. I'm just a very passionate supporter, and I'm looking forward to this season. I think we've bought a couple of good players. Fingers crossed we'll buy a couple more players. Let's go for it this season. Let's go for it.
And see where we're at in May. So I made a boo-boo there. Anyway, I really appreciate you coming on, Martin. If you want to check out Martin Krafty Kuts, go to kraftykuts.com. He's also on SoundCloud. You got your music on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all the good stuff. But you have your YouTube channel as well, right?
Yeah, I don't do too much on YouTube. I do streams as well on Twitch and Facebook. And yeah, I'm just keeping myself busy as ever and looking forward to another season. And I definitely will take my son to go and see the Reds. It doesn't matter what game it is, as long as I can get to see him play this season. I sometimes get over to the Brighton games, and I do usually go and see him at some point in the season, but it's really difficult because I'm always travelling. So, but I watch all the games on telly. If I see the highlights, or I watch it live wherever I am in the world. I'll get up at like 2 in the morning. Like 4 in the morning if I haven't slept to watch a game.
It's like here, it's 6 a.m. games. It's crazy, yeah. So, but I appreciate you coming on. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you later.